Welcome the timeless forgotten mystery. Solomon's temple stood in Jerusalem for nearly 400 years. It was the crown jewel of the city and the very heart of worship to the Lord. Almost half of the Old Testament was written during the time this temple still stood. To truly understand its meaning, one must explore its location, its history, and its sacred design, for they reveal why it remains one of the holiest places in the world. Jerusalem itself rests among three great valleys: the Hinnom, the Central or Tyropean, and the Kidron Valley. Between the Central and Kidron rises Mount Moriah. At its peak is a large flat rock, now enclosed beneath the dome of the rock. According to Genesis 22 verse 2, it was in the region of Moriah that Abraham was commanded to sacrifice Isaac, forever linking this mountain to one of the most profound events in Scripture. In the days of King David, the Jebusites controlled Jerusalem, which was then only a small city along the southern ridge. Around 1000 BC, David conquered the city and made it his capital. He brought the Ark of the Covenant there and began preparing for a permanent house of worship to replace the portable tabernacle of Moses that had been used for more than 400 years. To enlarge the city, David purchased the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite. This higher ground provided the perfect place for the temple of the Lord. It was under Solomon, David's son, that construction began. After 7 years of labor, around 960 BC, the temple was completed, most likely built over the same great stone of Mount Moriah. Solomon also built a new palace just south of the temple and extended the city walls up the mountain. The design of the temple followed the pattern of the tabernacle of Moses. Because of its symbolic ties to the Garden of Eden, many scholars believe Eden served as the prototype for the tabernacle and, in turn, for the temple. According to Jewish tradition, Eden stood upon a hill with the tree of life and the tree of knowledge at its center. When Adam and Eve partook of the forbidden fruit, they were cast out to the east, and cherubim with a flaming sword guarded the way back. To return to God's presence, Israel symbolically retraced that journey, moving westward back through the cherubim. The tabernacle reflected this same east-to-west journey. It had three parts: the outer court, the holy place, and the Holy of Holies. The outer court symbolized the fallen world, while the inner courts represented a holier way of life. The high priest, representing all of Israel, would pass through these spaces, leaving the world behind and entering the Lord's presence, passing the embroidered cherubim on the veil. Solomon's temple expanded on this same pattern, doubling the tabernacle's floor plan. As one approached the temple, the first sight was the great brazen altar of sacrifice, 20 cubits long and wide, and 10 cubits high. At each corner rose a horn, a symbol of power. Here, sacrificial animals were offered, foreshadowing the atoning sacrifice of Jesus Christ. Nearby stood the massive brazen sea, resting on the backs of 12 oxen facing the four cardinal directions. The oxen symbolized strength, and the number 12 represented the tribes of Israel. Water from the sea was poured into 10 bronze basins for ritual washings performed by the priests. Around the temple's south, west, and north sides were 3 stories of storage chambers, accessed by a doorway and wooden ladders. At the temple's entrance stood 2 towering bronze pillars, Boaz on the left and Jachin on the right. Their tops were decorated with lilies and pomegranates. The pomegranate, with its many seeds, symbolized posterity and prosperity, and was even sewn into the garments of the high priest. The temple doors were massive bifolding panels covered in gold, adorned with cherubim, palm trees, and open flowers. The doorway to the holy place had 4-stepped frames, while the entrance to the Holy of Holies had 5. Only priests, representing Israel, could enter these sacred spaces. Inside the holy place stretched a grand chamber, 40 cubits long, 20 wide, and 30 high. Its walls were overlaid with gold and decorated with cherubim, palm trees, and flowers, evoking the beauty of Eden. The room was lit by 10 golden menorahs, 5 on each side, burning continually. On the right stood the table of showbread with 12 loaves, replaced each Sabbath and eaten by the priests, symbolizing peace, brotherhood, and forgiveness, much like communion today. In front of the veil stood the altar of incense, square in shape with 4 horns. While the outer altar burned flesh, this one burned fragrant incense, symbolizing the prayers of the faithful rising to God. It was a reminder that only when our lives and prayers become a sweet offering can we enter His presence. Beyond the richly woven veil of blue, purple, red, and white threads, embroidered with cherubim, lay the Holy of Holies. Only the high priest could enter here, and only once a year on the Day of Atonement. Passing through the veil meant passing the angels that guarded the way back to God, just as in Eden. The Holy of Holies was a perfect cube, 20 cubits in every direction, overlaid with gold and adorned with cherubim, palm trees, and flowers. At its center stood the Ark of the Covenant, flanked by 2 great cherubim whose wings spanned the room. Here was the dwelling place of the Lord, the final destination of Israel's journey. Solomon's temple was more than just a monument in Jerusalem. It was the house of the Lord, a sacred model of mankind's return to God's presence. Its design taught that only through the infinite sacrifice of the sinless Messiah could Israel, and all of humanity, be redeemed and restored. That sacrifice would be fulfilled on a cross, not far from this very mountain.